so much for coming back to For Foodies by Foodies, my podcast. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is a podcast where we sit with like-minded foodies and talk about them as entrepreneurs in the food business. Today I'm really excited. I have Najoud Jabri with me, or Chef OTB on Instagram, and you are a content creator. Yes. You're my first content creator on the show. And people asked me when I was talking to my friends about this, why would you have influencers on or content creators? But because you guys are like the sexy part of the food world. Everybody, you know, don't get me wrong, wants to be an influencer somehow, some way. Right. So I thought when I was thinking of who I would want on the show, I thought these guys are making money and they're quitting their jobs for this. Yeah. So they're really vital to learn from as well, because you guys also have mastered the art of social media. Mm-hmm. So me and you met through mutual friends on a boat party. Well, we met, you came to the truck as media, you came to the truck.
That's true, and got to know each other on the boat, properly.
Exactly, and we connected. Like
girl bonding for life.
Yeah, forever. It just like literally takes 10 minutes. And I asked you to be on here because you're kind of all over the place right now. Right. And you're doing so many cool things and you're living your dreams. So yeah, I just wanted to chat about that and see, you know, how the heck did you get here? I don't know much about you yet. I'm just getting to know you. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and even considering me to be part of this. Oh. But you know, we love talking about food, so this can go on forever. Yeah, warning.
We literally sat on the phone a few weeks ago for like 3 hours.
Yeah. It was meant to be like a 5-minute hello. But to answer your question, let me tell you a bit how it all started. Please. So I've loved food forever. Like, definitely I have my dad's appetite. So it all started there. But as a family growing up, we lived in so many different countries. And that has really impacted the flavors that I enjoy and the type of cooking. And trust me, I mean, I didn't learn how to cook till I was 16. And I was super proud. We moved to Canada and I made a grilled cheese sandwich. Mind you, it was not grilled. It was microwave cheese sandwich. And I was so proud. So happy. Yeah. I was so proud. It's like, oh my God, I just did that. You know, it's so embarrassing. But you gotta start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Yeah. Eventually learned cooking from my mom. And then when I graduated, I was living alone, and again in moving countries, like I was in Bahrain and Jordan and Canada and Spain and then here. And so, and like your friends and neighbors and everybody, like you learn about different cuisines. Yeah. Like in Spain, my neighbors were Indian, so I learned Indian food. So, oh wow. So it's not like just because I was somewhere, I only was exposed to one kind of thing. Yeah. And then through travel and all that, it impacts how I see food and how I take my experiences and interpret it in a certain way. In terms of work, I worked in marketing for a very long time. Yeah. I was exposed to it since childhood. My mom had her own marketing research firm. Oh, cool. So it's just like, I love numbers and understanding people and the psychology behind it and all this stuff. And over time, I realized, how can I combine the two? How can I take the business side of it and the food side and put the two together? Yeah. One day, I kind of got fed up with my job.
So how long ago was this one day? This always one day, by the way.
There's always one day. It just like, whew, that's it. I'm done. Just over 2.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had no idea that the next thing would be blogging. I had no idea that this could be my business, my all-time, full-time, breathe, live, whatever.
It pays your bill business.
Everything, right? It was just kind of a transitional period, taking a break. And while I was still working, I was doing my culinary school and I was testing recipes at home or inviting people over, and my friends would ask, can you please share the recipe? Yeah. I don't have a great memory, so if you know this, I don't have a great memory. So they asked me, why don't you just create a blog for you to jot down your thoughts and the recipes so that we can find them, because we cannot depend on your memory.
Or waiting for you to send us the recipe.
It literally, that's how it started. There was zero interest in blogging, zero interest in making money out of it. It was just like, all right, I forget, you need a place to find this, done. Mm-hmm. Slowly, I realized how competitive it was on Instagram, and you know, initially I'd feel proud about my super ugly pictures. And then eventually I was like, oh my God, there's so much competition. I need to learn. So you start learning about different sides of the business, like photography and things that I've never been exposed to.
Because you have to when you're blogging.
Exactly.
Because those are all huge components of your physical WordPress, whatever website, blog.
And like, it doesn't matter how good it tastes, it has to look good first. And that was annoying at first. Like, I worked so hard for this, but you know, sexy stuff sells, right? Irrelevant of what it is, even food has to look sexy.
Even the competition is, that's why you mentioned competition, because if they're doing it so good, they raise the bar. If you want to come into this crazy market, you gotta have something just as sexy.
Exactly. And I really appreciate that, you know, it is so competitive because you continuously want to learn. And it's kind of, you're in this environment where there is support. There are people who want to teach each other, that want to help each other out. And kind of, there is that competitive vibe at the same time. It's friendly but competitive. And everybody wants to be like, yeah, but I did that first. But I created that first. And so that was really inspiring. And then eventually I got my first client, who was Lurpak. I was clueless.
Okay, rewind.
Tell me.
So you worked in marketing.
Yes.
You have always had a passion for food since 100%. You were like a kid, a little baby Najoud. And then you actually went to culinary school in between all this?
While working.
Okay, where did you
I was here while working.
Which one?
ICCA Dubai.
Me too.
Yeah!
I didn't even know you went there.
Yeah!
I went there as well.
I did both. I did the pastry and I did the cookery.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm more like,
how did you like it,
person.
since we're alumni? How did you like it?
I really liked it. I was lucky to try both the weekend program and the full-time program to compare.
Oh wow, yeah, I just did the weekend.
There's a huge difference between the two. So the weekend, yes, you have more time to absorb the information. So that means when you go home and you want to apply it, or in your business, it's easier to apply because you had time to absorb. But they forget certain sides of the business, which you gain when you're going full-time. They take you more seriously for some reason. So you have to go through everything that's in the fridge or in the pantry and make sure nothing's expired and make sure everything's fine. You go through all these different processes and procedures that you would do if you had your own restaurant.
Exactly, yeah.
So that was the missing bit on the weekends.
Yeah. So then after that you started blogging. You opened a blog, literally. Did you get WordPress? Did you get someone to do it for you? Did you do it yourself?
I did everything myself to start off. And then especially since I quit my job, I didn't know when the next paycheck was going to be. I wasn't ready to look for work yet, so I knew that there wasn't going to be a paycheck for a little while. So I was like, all right, I have the time, let me learn how to do this. Simple WordPress at first, and then just kind of built it slowly, just step by step. And then eventually I got that first client.
Lurpak, that's a good client.
And they're like, so how much do you charge for this? And they wanted 5 recipes, 4 pictures and 1 video. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I didn't have other than like a phone and a very basic camera. And I've never filmed a food video before. I was clueless.
So this was like, what stage would this have been in your social media following? Was this at like 10,000? So how many followers do you have now on Instagram?
14.4 thousand.
Okay, and we're still talking about 2 years ago, right?
I wasn't even at 1,000.
You weren't even at 1,000? I
was not even at 1,000. So
one really interesting thing is why the heck would Lurpak hire you if you weren't at 1,000?
I have no idea. But sometimes what brands do is if they don't have a budget, they want to work with people who are smaller and kind of promote them. They like their creativity, they see their potential, but at the same time, they cannot afford the more expensive people depending on the project that they have. So it's kind of like both ways. They want to promote. Was this kind of like someone knows somebody at Lurpak and got you in, or they saw you, but then they must have liked something they seen? They liked the creativity in the recipes.
Okay.
So they wanted fresh ideas, and that's what they found on my channel.
Amazing.
And so they wanted me to be super creative with their products.
Yeah.
And what I had to do was for Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. So the 5 posts kind of had to land between the two.
And was this paid?
This was paid.
Okay.
But given that it was paid, that was the part that I was beyond, well, other than the photography part. I was clueless. You know, it was a whole new type of business that I didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the market standards are. If I was in the US, for example, there are websites that I can go to and know what I can charge for certain services or for a certain following. So you need to keep in mind when you're charging, whether you want to calculate it as a service or if you want to incorporate that extra amount where it has to do with the number of followers that you have.
Awareness, views, clicks, conversions, blah, 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 blah. The number game.
Yes.
Okay.
The service bit is it photography? Is it food styling? Is it recipe development? What are they asking for? And you can break it down.
Beep, 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 beep. So this is why I wanted an influencer here. Because there's influencers, which is a word that with all due respect,
I don't like it very much.
like it. Why are you influencing my life? It just doesn't make sense, and it's a taboo, and everybody wants to do it. But I love content creator, and that's, I believe, what you are. So one of the things, I mean, we kind of want to keep this short and sweet because I would love Najoud to be on my show as many times as possible. She can teach us so much. She's already taught me so much. You're not a girl who just goes and reviews restaurants.
No.
Your first job was something that defies all of what the taboo is, and this is what's really important. Your first job was Lurpak contacted you to create recipes, do a video, take pictures, and then post about it. That was kind of like the given.
Yeah.
So why do we all think that you guys just post your food that you get for free?
Look, there are 2 types of food bloggers. There are the restaurant reviewers and there are the recipe developers. And maybe for someone who is already part of that community, it's a bit clearer rather than someone who's outside of it. Because sometimes even the recipe developers want to eat out and it's really hard. It's a lot more hard work on us and a lot more time to create recipes and photography and editing and all this stuff, rather than just go out and eat and something's prepared for me. It's a lot more time and effort. So we kind of fill in the gaps sometimes to keep the engagement going, and we want to show a little bit about our lives. So maybe that's where it comes in.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more work than that. The people who are really successful in blogging, they need to be personal. They need to be you have to have that human element. And the most money-making ones are the ones who are business-minded. It's all about business at the end of the day. No matter what kind of business you're running, you have to have a business mind. You need to know how to lure in some clients and convince them why you are the right person.
So the controversy lies in with saying, I go and what my peers speak to me about is, oh, I hate these damn influencers.
Right.
They come and they just want to eat my food, and then they don't send me no reports. They don't send me the statistics. And to be honest, 20% of them bring me return customers.
Right.
Organic customers.
Right.
But the whole objective is that this market is what brought them to where they are. Mm-hmm. It encouraged people to become influencers.
Right.
And it encouraged them it allowed them to do that. What makes you different and the likes of you is that you actually, first of all, yes, to answer what you're saying, is you are business minded and you're a genuine chef, you're a foodie. And then which in equal, you're a content creator.
Right.
So you create this content for brands. And I think that's what we should really be getting to. You do go to restaurants.
Right.
I've seen you.
I've dropped it down definitely because I felt that it confused people to what I do, and it kind of eliminated that differentiating factor. So I realized that was I was overdoing it and I had to take it back.
And how'd you take it back?
I just stopped going as often, and I started talking about, to fill in the gaps, I started talking about other things. So for example, the other day, completely unplanned, decided to go live on my Instagram channel and talk about happiness in the things that make us
saw
happy.
that. Yeah, that was
And
so cute.
it was so out of the blue. I just felt like thinking about like, wow, sometimes we're not grateful enough, and I just wanted all of us to take a moment, just put a hold on our life and say, what are we grateful for today? And that kind of human interaction, human connection that's relatable to everyone, that's what creates the community. So I don't want to think about it as influencing, but rather we're kind of connecting, right?
Oh, I
We're
love
just
that.
friends connecting.
Yeah, I love that because it's so true. I'm not somebody who really follows many influencers. I follow a few, and I follow them for really, really passionate reasons. Like I'm obsessed with Huda Beauty because she's a woman boss, and like, you know, we didn't have any brown, you know, tan entrepreneur Arab when I was growing up in the States, and she's just killing it, and she's a mogul, and it's amazing. And then, of course, I follow some chefs that are dear to my heart that actually impacted my life in my last 9 years here. I'm not really into fashion, so I don't follow any fashionistas, but the ones I follow, I feel like I know.
You know them. You get to know who they are, so that when you meet them, it's... And this is the funny part, actually. A few weeks ago, I was in the US, and I went for a conference, which I told you about.
That looked so cool.
And it was a food blogging conference, and honestly, I wanted to go because of the lineup. And when I saw some of these people that I follow, I'm like, I don't want to be the creep that runs over and just says, oh my God, which inside, that's exactly how I felt.
So can we be the creep? I mean, you went to one of these things. You are technically an influencer. So can we be the creep? Can we go up to, you know, Gordon Ramsay's, like, he's on a different level, but can we go up to like our favorite chefs or our favorite influencers on social media and just be like, I really like you? There
are two ways to look at it, right? So one thing is, how friendly is this influencer? So if you know from their social media account that they are kind of a very sociable person and they're open to saying hi to people, then that really helps.
Because they showed you, they've communicated with their fans.
Exactly. So the closer that they make you feel, you are to them, then it's so much easier to approach them. And the other thing is the way that your approach is to start with, right? Like, you don't want to be a total creep, but
can't be a creep.
You can't be a creep, but you can say like, I really appreciate your work, and this is what I love about it. This is what I enjoy the most, and thank you for sharing that, because this is how it's impacting.
And find a way to collaborate.
If possible.
If possible. You're doing a lot of that now. You're collaborating. You're on YouTube. You're on Instagram. You're paid by brands, many brands, to create content for them.
Right.
You do your own photography. You create recipes. You made some hummus recipes today.
Yes, I got you 3 of them.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, it's Ramadan, by the way, so can't wait. Iftar's in
just a little
minutes. Yeah. So one of the things I really wanted to ask you before we wrap this up is, how do you become a food influencer? I think that's really the question. Everybody's a foodie these days. I mean, I do have friends that hate cooking, literally. They're not the foodies I'm talking about. But when you open up your Instagram, because that's the portal we're really talking about these days.
Right.
If you open up your Instagram, you're either taking shots of your food, or in Ramadan now, I'm so amazed at all of the people. I don't follow many people, but I'm so amazed at all the people I'm following that are posting their cooking. I would never think they would cook, and every day they're posting their cooking, and it's so amazing, and I love it so much. How do you take that to another level? Do you just keep doing it?
I think every person has to find their niche, right? I think this is the most important bit. What makes you memorable? What do you stand for? And how can you stay true to that so that people remember you for that?
I just like cooking.
Yeah, but sometimes you have certain flavors that keep popping up, certain themes that keep popping up. Or is it about the way that you present your food? Or is it about gatherings? Like, it may not
catering. You love to cater.
For example.
A lot of friends I have, you would never in a million years think that they would even cook an egg, and then you go to their house and you're like, what the heck, am I at Jamie Oliver's house right now? Like,
seriously.
I don't get it. Yeah.
But you have to find that one thing that represents you.
Yeah.
And really drive that home. And
keep pushing towards it.
Yeah, and stay true to who you are, because if you lose sight of what you're doing, why you're doing this, and what your personality is like on there, if you try to be like someone else, it stops being genuine. So as soon as you're genuine, you're gonna attract the people who are exactly like you.
Wow.
One tip that I got last year, which really helped me, because I was kind of getting lost between what is my voice like, and who am I talking to, and I was getting confused because I was getting different followers. So how can I stay who I am without getting confused?
Yes, because you might think to yourself, should I change who I am for my different followers,
right,
my different demographic?
So tell me, who is your best friend? And I'll tell you why this matters.
A real best friend?
A real best friend.
Like not my dog?
A real best friend. I don't know.
Her name's Renda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that, like a tip, they would say is, who is... we have a guest. This has to wait.
Sorry guys, we just had an amazing guest show up to our iftar, so we had to open the door. Okay, continue.
All right, so your friend, Randa, you said.
Yeah.
So one tip I would have for anybody is think about your best friend and think about how you would talk to them. Like if you want to call them up and talk about your day or about something you're passionate about, just keep that person in mind, because you know you're going to speak in your voice.
Yeah.
And say things the way that you want to say it, rather than, am I saying it in the right accent or the right language? Is it appropriate? Is it not appropriate? Like, don't overthink it.
It's just at the beginning, it's so hard. Like for me, I'm doing this. I mean, this is not just for me, but I'm doing my vidcast as a resource,
right?
You know, and it's different in the food influencing world. If you're a nutritionist, if you're a recipe creator,
right,
if you're a reviewer of food, you all have different ways to communicate.
Exactly.
In my case, I'm kind of just really like not paying any attention to what I sound like, what I look like. That's not my objective. My objective is just have meaningful conversations, and that really has to deal with who your competition is as well. What's your competition doing? A lot of people, in my case, are not doing vidcasts, but they're doing podcasts, so only their voice is heard and their tone. And like for me, I'm really loud and I'm very passionate, so my tone can, you know, go into a million different things. So that's so interesting. Like, just imagine you're talking to your best friends.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you do that? Do you take that advice? Do you feel like
yes? And when I don't do it, it impacts my work. It immediately impacts my work, because then I'm comparing myself to people. And as soon as I stopped doing that, when I took a break and took a step back and came back to who I truly am, the engagement's back up.
Yeah.
People are interested again. People
it's
are
genuine.
tuning in.
Yeah.
Because I'm showing who I really am rather than who I think they want me to be.
Because what happens, I feel, is that as a starter, as somebody who's starting out, you go and you see somebody you like, and you say, I want to do that.
Right.
I want to be just like them. I want to be like Najoud. So I'm going to go, and not only am I going to replicate the content, I'm going to replicate the mood, the guests, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to actually try to sound and look and act like that person.
I do think that it's important to look around and see what the competition's doing, because you can learn so much.
Yeah.
It's all about, you know, the fun of learning and picking up tips here and there and seeing how you can integrate it in your own way to have your own voice. And, you know, it might give you a new idea to do something cool.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with looking around and seeing what's happening. You know, it might inspire you, but stay true to who you are. And that's the most important tip, I would say.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that is so helpful. I had one more question, and I would love for you to be back on my podcast and talk about some things that, you know, you have really excelled in, whether it's recipe creation and working with your clients. I would love to have a lot of different types of influencers on board, from really different scopes. But one of the things, what makes you so special, which I learned about now, is you hadn't even been in the game for any bit of time, and you got that's my dog, I'm really sorry about that. You got your first client, Lurpak.
Yeah. And
you actually charged them.
Of course.
And did you have anybody you can go to and ask, how much should I charge?
No, I only started having friends in the business later on, and with each job and each experience, I learned what to charge. By having a better understanding of the amount of work that goes into it. What kind of recipes? Are they simple or are they more complex? Is it the type of client that's going to ask you to repeat the recipe multiple times? Yeah. So you have to take that into consideration with the amount of time that that's taking you to cook. or the number of ingredients that you need, or the back end work where you're emailing back and forth.
Yeah.
Also, you want to take into account photography or videography or any of the other services. And those other ones are standardized in the market, which helps. So you can go and ask people in the market. So how much do you charge? If you're not a professional, if you're someone who's starting out, how much would you charge? And how much time does it take? And so taking each of those and breaking them into this service and that, then you can add it up. So you have a rate card that you always have, and you just add it up depending. It's like a shopping list, right? I want A, B, C, or A, D, and E, and you just add it up and boom, there you go.
And how was it at the beginning? Was it extremely challenging? Was there a lot of pushback? Or was it kind of just a gradual, you know, acceptance now, 2 years later at 14.4 followers and so many different, 14.4 thousand followers and so many different channels that you're tapped into? Is it more like, here's my rate card across the last 2 years of my experience?
Right.
Let me know if you want to work together.
Generally, I keep my rate card consistent, but if it's a client that I've worked with for a long time and they're limited in terms of budget for one project, then I'll give a special discount. Sometimes if it's the first time we're working together and I really would like to have a long-term relationship with them, then I might give a small discount at the beginning just so that we see how it's like to work together, lure them in, and then kind of agree on
a long-term.
I definitely think whenever you're working with clients, don't think about the one post. If someone's just reaching out for one post, doesn't mean don't go for it, especially if it's your first few clients, but try to think of a long-term strategy. Always go in with ideas of how you can work together throughout the year. Because once you link yourself to one client in a specific industry or type of business, so for example, a chicken client, you can't work with their competition. Or with a certain chocolate client, you cannot work with the competition. The competition puts that on your record. You have worked with them, and therefore we're not interested necessarily to work with you. So you have to make sure that it's worth it. Once you link up with a client. What is the value added? Are you on the same line of thinking? Do you have the same values? And are you able to express yourself? So keep those in mind whenever you're working with a potential.
You have to think long term. It can't be about just a shortcut client or just going with somebody for the sake of going with somebody.
Absolutely.
It has to represent your brand, and can't only be about the, if you want to do it long term, it can't only be about the money.
No, it can't. And that was one of the things I wanted to tell you. Not everything has to be paid. So if you have a potential client that's going to give you an amazing exposure to a whole new group of people, and there is value and you are aligned, then definitely go for it. Not everything has to be paid, and not every collaboration has to be paid. You have to think about what you're getting out of it.
Because that value add might affect your brand 100 times more than any paycheck could. It might take you that extra 100
Like
yards.
I've gone on Fatafeet several times now on TV and on stage with them, and that exposure is incredible, and that helps people see me in the industry as an expert. And so the kind of impact that has, no money can pay you that. No money can pay you that. To be associated to a brand that big, I mean, that's where value is added.
That's where you really are allowed to weigh out, you know, your return. What's worth it for you.
Exactly. So the occasional freebie is fine. Guys, don't shy away from that, but don't make it all about the free stuff either.
Especially when you're growing. I mean, we're all growing, hopefully in organic, in organic paces. So, they're gonna grow with you and they're gonna appreciate that. And I know so many people that are getting into the content creation, social media influencer market, and they're really having a hard time, deciding what they do for free, what they do for a little bit of money to build their portfolio and take them, the extra mile. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, my dear.
It's almost iftar time.
Yes, and we're hungry.
We're so hungry. And there's really a lot that so many people can learn from you. And I know that food entrepreneurs could really learn from you. Social media in general, photography. So hopefully you'll be back on.
Yes, I'd love to.
When I grow this little baby of mine, and we can, chat about some other topics. Thank you guys so much for coming back and watching. Please subscribe, follow, like.
She's awesome. So support all the way. She's sharing such incredible content, and the resource that you're building together is so helpful for everybody. So appreciate, like, subscribe, make it happen.
Whatever. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, whatever. Thanks so much, guys, and please stay tuned. Everything will be in the description below, just so you can learn a little bit more about Najoud. Follow her and just, follow whatever she's up to next. Thanks again, love.
Thank you.